So day 2 of the GT-R teardown. We want to get this diffuser off, as well as the front bumper, which I'm a little confused about because of this bit. But I think all the rear diffuser is, you can probably see it right up there, those two guys should release the plate. And then once that's off, once that's off, it should just be easy enough. So this is the diffuser. It's just held on using these two slots. They were bottomed out, so the diffuser was in its highest position. Those just bolt right in, this is going to be difficult to show, right in those two holes, I guess. That wasn't this whole bed. These number 5 Allen, so a 5mm Allen key, which is just, you know, 4 of these little guys. Not bad. And that gave me access to about right here, which should be everything that I need access to. That wasn't, there's not much more. I mean, these, the sun's in the way, or not the sun, the light. We still have that radiator, not the radiator, but the cooler to deal with, but most of that stuff is accessible from up there. Alright, so I just got the tow hook out. It was up in there somewhere, but you get what I mean. Basically, these two bolt holes had spacers. Those spacers right there, and they were connected to the top by those nuts, and just stuck out there. And after that, you have to remove a couple of bolts there. Probably same location on the other side. One there. There's not another one, which concerns me. Maybe we don't need one. Anyway, probably have to remove that one, that one. Trying to think. That one. Seems to be bolting in from the top though, which is concerning. Maybe I'll remove this from this. I'll remove this guy from this guy first, or this section from this center section. That seems like maybe a good idea. Just maybe. Side note for reassembly. There are 2 spacers. They go over. They go in between these holes, and they're mounting holes up there. It turns out this panel and this panel have to be removed separately, purely because of the bolt that goes in right here. So yeah, this guy. So if I take my ratchet and come on, start popping that off. I'll just show you once I have it off. Extra note, there are fasteners back in there, so behind this wall, or this little lip, there's 3 fasteners. Yeah, that's what was keeping this entire thing from coming down. I've disassembled all of this because of those 3 fasteners. Nice. So that's all the hardware for the rear. It's a lot. And these are the panels. They line up something along the lines of Something along the lines of that. Complex aero piece, you can see the ducting, and it all goes to these guys, which is pretty neat. So yeah, that's the rear out. All that's left is the front end. You know, we'll see what I have to do. Shouldn't be hard though. Might need the 70mm socket first though. 70mm 12 point for the wheels. But I'm not sure. Oh, look at that. That's something cool. I actually have carbon. Would that be a brake dust shield? I don't know. It's covering the brake pads. It doesn't have it on the top. Does it have it on the other side? Yeah, it sure does. Not on the top again. I guess if the rotor is spinning, it's to prevent debris from getting in, because the rotor would be spinning counterclockwise. So as you slow the tire down, it prevents something from getting flung into the pads and causing weird brake behavior. This car keeps on giving cool stuff. Does it have something like that in the rear? It does not, but the rear is on the front end, so probably wouldn't need it. Be unlikely. So after looking over the bumper for a few minutes, it looks like I have to disconnect this. That goes to the under tray. I'd like to take it all off in one piece. The wiring harness here, that needs to come off. This is all going to stay on this radiator shroud doodad. These three seem to be the main bumper things. Bumper fasteners. Same thing on the other side, and I think let me go back to the other one for reference real fast. Yeah, there's those guys. So if I go underneath a tire, right inside, ooh, maybe not, I can't quite see. There's a fastener in there. It'll be hard to get in there. You'll kind of see it. You see it top at the left. It's the only one I see though. So we'll have to play with that. I might have to still take off the tire, but we'll get it to a certain point. So I just got back from lunch and I was thinking, how can I do this without taking off the wheel? Well, it took me a little while to think about it for some reason, but I was able to turn the wheel enough and I can get to that fastener now. So I'm going to take those out on both sides. Where's my ratchet? Let's see if I can do this one-handed. And then hopefully I'll be able to get those three and that guy. So if I stick that in there, perfect. And it's just a nut plate up top, which is perfect as well. Come on. Not much of a ratchet through. But it should be just about out now. That's it. Just a standard fastener and a nut plate. Uses a 4mm hex, or 4mm Allen key. I think the ones up top are 4mm as well, so the entire bumper should be able to be removed with one Allen key. Oh, no, those are 5 or 6. But the diffuser ones are only 4. So I'll get the rest of this off and show you guys the front end. The left side of the car, so the passenger side, is missing a washer down here. It never came off with the fastener. Can I get that? Yeah. So it never came off with the fastener. So this car has a couple things wrong. It's doing pretty well. So I've had to lift the car back up to finish removing the front end. It looks like just these are, let's see, and they're 4mm? Yeah, 4mm Allens. Just the 4mm. You can see this side's already loose, and then after this comes off, everything else should come off. So once I get these guys right here, which they're just hand loosened right now, so I can probably take them, press them off. So I'm going to have to take the splitter and the front end apart separately. I just took off these 4, so there, and those hold the splitter to the front end, along with what was under there, but that's just to hold it to the cross member. So now it's loose, it should come off. We'll see what happens. And it's off. So that's the front end on the ground. I gotta cover that bulb like that one is. Had to disconnect the harness on this side. But yeah, now the car is basically stripped, fundamentally. It's still got that splitter on. Now you can see clearly the carbon ductwork for cooling. These are brake ducts. That's for the radiator, brake duct, intercooler. So obviously this guy's the intercooler. Wait, does it have a radiator? Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But there should be a radiator right below this panel. I think that's how it works. So my trouble right now is I need to remove the tires to get to that fastener down there. I just can't quite reach it without, potentially stripping it. Same on this side. These guys. After that, I think it should come off. But yeah, that's the bodywork of a GT-R. I guess next up we gotta find an engine. Suspension should be fine. It may have the old shock still, which we'll replace. Now let's straighten these tires back out. Cool. So I found one more interesting thing. This has been bugging me, and it finally hit me what these are for. So each of the fender wells has a little animated hand. So that's the left rear, right rear, and the right front. Now, I thought those were just there. I was like, well, they point where the wheel's turning. I mean, that makes sense. But, it's kind of redundant. The wheels are going forward. But then it finally hit me. They're for the single lugs, which I wish the Germans would learn from that, because there's no rhyme or reason of the way these lugs turn. Sometimes it's reverse threaded on one side, sometimes the left side is reverse threaded, sometimes the left side is normal threaded. It doesn't, whatever your logic is, there's going to be a car that challenges it. I think the Mercedes actually is different from what I think it is, because I don't remember. Basically, the reason these are reverse threaded, well, that is not reverse threaded, I don't think, because I think those are for loosening torque. So the reason the right side on this one is reverse threaded is as you apply torque with the engine, the wheel is going to turn, and it's gonna, as the spindle is applied torque to it. Wait, no, that's the other way around. Whatever it is, there's no rhyme or reason to it. I know the Germans are different from everybody else. I'm not sure about this car, but that hand is great for when you're just working on the car and you don't know. Now that I've stripped down the body panels, last time we got off the front end and the trunks, all sorts of stuff. Now I'm gonna try and trace some of these leaks. I'm taking off this steel panel. It's a 8mm Allen. Had to break them all loose with a 1/2-inch bar, but now they're all coming out pretty smooth. When they come out, it's just one of those bolts. So I have the transmission jack underneath just because I have no idea how heavy this piece of steel is. If it's solid, it's a pretty hefty weight, and I don't want to have to do that with one hand. So transmission jack, I'll raise it up once I'm loosening the last two. That plate wasn't too heavy, it came off. It's not really sitting on there, but it's fine. I'll drop it down off the jack. Come on. Drop it down. And there is the differential. Okay, it wasn't even... so this is purely for mounting the under tray. That stuff and the splitter, or the diffuser, my bad. There's some numbers on the transmission. It looks like that's another Toyota part, Micron Corp. It's an alternator, so sometimes they run alternators off the back end. Main reason being your battery's already back there, so run less wire. You can run it off the drive shaft. So yeah, that's that part. A wet spot right there. I mean, the reason I wanted that down is so I could start chasing leaks, but differential doesn't seem to be leaking. Fitting's a little bit greasy. I was feeling this guy right here. It's a little greasy. Up to there is probably, yeah, that's gonna be it. Especially this line right here. There's a reason we use A in it, so we can avoid those. So I'll have to make that known. I've also noticed they've started, well, every time there's a steel, you know, a bolt, the steel bolt threads into a steel part, i.e. this is steel, that's a washer, right, this is steel and that's a washer, so I'll need to put those with these. Oh, there's something there too. I'm not sure where that, whoop. I think that's from a cooler. It looks like, I don't want to say power steering fluid, because I don't know what they use in Japan. They use something different than here. And I don't even know if this thing has power steering. Brake fluid, maybe. They may use a different dot. They may use, since they don't have dot. There's a couple of dots there. I have to look at that. But every time they use, back on track, every time they use steel into steel, they use copper anti-seize. So you can see it. Focus. Let me get a one that's a little better. There you go. So you can see the focus. You can see the, it's not rust, that kind of speckle area, that's copper anti-seize. So it's interesting that they would use that. I mean, it's I don't know why. Usually, I don't know. Maybe Japan has to worry about rust a little more. But it's only on the steel fasteners, which makes sense because you don't want them to rust into place. Or steel fasteners into steel parts like that pan. So I didn't think this thing had power steering, but you can see there's something connected to the steering column, or the steering shaft. Where is that lettering? CYB. I get further in there. I can't quite see. Let me zoom in just a tad. If I look up that company, maybe I can figure out if it is power steering. Oh no, that's a K. Kakar KYB. Alright, I'll look that up. That's interesting, the power steering cooler is that inside. I wouldn't think that'd be legal. And that would make sense if the fluid back here was power steering fluid. Whether or not it is, I don't know. Because here in the United States, a lot of cars use automatic transmission fluid. Well, that's my Subaru, which is Japanese, which might make sense. So yeah, trying to figure out what's leaking down here. Let me get a odorless. That's thicker. You can see that was pretty thick stuff. So whatever that is, we'll find out. So we're on the older car now. This is the year 2000 car. I'm trying to find out if that same KYB pump is on this rack. It is not inside, and part of the reason I think that might be the case is because this rack has to go up because the rack is here, and considering that's the firewall and that's the two lines, I would gather that there is no power steering on this car, but there's lines. But just to double check, hop over the lift. And this look around. That's the shaft. The joint, at least. It goes through the firewall with nothing. And I mean, it'd be a KYB if anything. They wouldn't change manufacturers for that. And it's obviously it's got a Motec harness with Deutsch connectors now. So yeah, no power steering on the older cars. It was a revised system that they used when they switched to the V6 motors, because they were able to relocate the rack. This car would have been absolutely terrible to drive without power steering. Just because when you're trying to turn that hard, I mean, this thing has, this one uses, I think, 325s. 330s. Check that out. So yeah, it's a lot of tire to move. So to finish removing body panels, I had to take out 4 of these in here on the front of the splitter slash diffuser. So now, setting that down, this is all the front bumper hardware. I should be able to pop this off. It's very loose, so we'll see. So I wasn't quite there. That nut plate right there. Or did I get that one already? No, I haven't. So that's all the way to the tire. It's right there. Is that it? I think that is it. It's not going to focus on that. There's a bolt on either side there that I have to get. The car is completely stripped. I just got that off. Had to use transmission jack again. Oop, almost dropped that. Let's drop this down so you can see. Oop, let's pick it up before we put it on the ground. So there's one more thing holding this together. And when you know it, it's zip ties. And I might. That's really darn short. Can I even get them? I'm gonna have to get something tighter. So instead of cutting the zip ties, I actually took these clips, these little, how are they called? I am not functioning at 100% today apparently, but I'm just going to stab those right back in where they came from so I don't forget them when I put this little grate back on. That one goes, they're so tiny and hard to work with. That's, oh, he just landed on me. Let me get a, oh my God. You see him? He just landed on me. I do not appreciate that. Holy crap. Yeah, so those go in there. This is now free moving, so yeah, it'll come right out. One final note on this reassembly. There's these little brackets right here. Or spacers. They have to fit over those holes in order to be bolted up. There's a couple of them. Or shims, whatever you want to call them. Yeah. And this is the underneath part. So they would screw into these guys. Are there any others? Yeah, there's some right there. Down there. This plate's really fancy. Like some kind of it seems to be some kind of engine mount thing. Engine plate, I don't know. But it's bulky and stiff and ain't going anywhere. So that's it for disassembly of the body. I already started finding leaks. Not sure what this is about, but this little piece that the front splitter slash diffuser was mounted to has gas struts. Don't mind the car outside, it's just freedom. British gas spring. So I guess, not sure why you would want that on a spring. Maybe for safety's sake, or you know, saving the piece if you bottom out, or maybe this is tuned to where it drops the splitter if you're up at a high enough speed. Either way, spring mounts for the front of the splitter, so it's technically active aero, even if it is passive. Well, no, never mind, that's bad terminology, but it's the aero does dynamic aero is the word I'm looking for. Passive dynamic aero, that's a 4. So that's the only dynamic aero part I can find in the car. Does the old car have that? Does not. So that's something they added. The old car just has those, you can see them there, the mounts, standard sheet metal mounts. Why would you? I'll have to look into that a little more.